Hello, my name is Charles Bradley, and I have the honor and privilege to serve as the Division Director for Mecklenburg County Youth and Family Services. Youth and Family Services is a division of the Department of Social Services in Mecklenburg County. Today, you will have the opportunity to review this video and hear more about the following service areas: investigations and sex abuse investigations, family and home services, and permanency planning. In hearing information about these three service areas, we hope that you will be able to determine what area best fits your style and your needs.
You are viewing this video because you have expressed interest in beginning a career with Mecklenburg County in one of our service areas. In this video, you will hear from workers and supervisors who will share a first-hand account of their experiences. What motivates them? What are some of their challenges? What is expected? What are the investments? Protective services are legally mandated, non-voluntary services for families where allegations of abuse, neglect, and/or dependency have been reported against the child's parent or caretaker. Investigators are generally the first person from DSS to knock on the family's door. The investigator must respond to reports of maltreatment within mandated timeframes of immediacy up to 72 hours, depending upon the allegations. The person considering the job must be able to respond quickly and be flexible in their schedule.
There's a lot of things that I enjoy about investigations. I actually interned in investigations and I decided that I loved it, and so that's why I decided to continue with that. One thing that I love is that it's ever changing all the time. Our clients are never the same, so you never know what to expect or what you're going to get. And so that's fun for me. I think that it's a challenge just to kind of learn how different clients react to different situations. Another thing that I love is that I get to work with children. So just being able to interview them and seeing the impact that I can have on their family.
Staff go into all types of home environments, including wealthy, poverty-stricken, drug-infested, and/or violent situations.
One of the things as an investigator, you want to make sure we are the first line of defense. You want to make sure you get in, establish a rapport, and gain the trust, and making sure to inform the families that they're not there to hurt them, but to assist them. We want to make sure that the family's in a better situation after we leave and once the case has been closed.
Investigators may be greeted with defensiveness or hostility and must be able to diffuse tense situations and overcome client resistance.
We don't always have oppositional clients. In fact, a lot of my clients are pretty friendly and cooperative as long as you are friendly with them from the get-go. So I feel like when you see that you have an oppositional client, you really have to allow them to vent. And a lot of times that works for me if I just allow them to vent for a while. Sometimes it can be 30 minutes, sometimes it's only 5 minutes. But really just listen to them and genuinely understand what their concern is, so that way you can talk to them. Okay, is the concern that you have a DSS report? Is the concern that you need housing? What's the concern that's causing you to somewhat be oppositional with me? And once you kind of learn what that problem is, you can kind of work it out.
Investigators within the sex abuse unit, whose primary role is to address allegations of sex abuse and conflict of interest cases, follow the same protective service guidelines.
In order to be an efficient sex abuse worker, I think you have to have excellent time management skills and get up and go, I guess is a good way to put it. There's a lot of things that have to take place, a lot of moving factors that are involved, lots of community partners that we have to work with, lots of timetables that have to be met in order to do that.
We of course have to take our time and make sure that we're exercising our active listening skills, because we of course want them to feel comfortable whenever they're making that initial disclosure to us, because oftentimes a child has just disclosed this sexual abuse that has been taking place for the first time, being at school, and have not even spoken to their mother or father or whoever their protective caregiver is.
Sometimes we have to ask perpetrators to leave the house and we don't have all the facts yet, but sometimes in order to keep children safe, we have to do that. And that happens a lot more frequently in sex abuse than in regular investigations, that we have to ask a family member to leave the house, or we have to have the children leave the house in order to keep them safe, whether that's through custody or a kinship placement or a neighbor or someone just to keep them safe until we can figure out what's going on.
Investigators interface with many different professionals and often carry many ongoing cases.
It's very fast-paced, and so you really need to be able to type fast and make sure that your documentation is current. And also you really need to be thorough with your investigation. So sometimes we may receive a case in regards to domestic violence, but just because it's only domestic violence doesn't mean that you should ignore the fact that mom has mental health issues or that the family is homeless.
It's very important as a social worker, if it's not documented, it never happens. So you want to make sure that you document everything and every contact, every telephone call you encounter with the families that you serve.
State standards dictate that the department case decisions are made within 30 to 45 days of the case being initiated. Investigation is very fast-paced and may require you to forego your personal obligations.
Sometimes clients may have 10 or more previous investigations, and just because they have had those previous cases, I don't think that we should judge them based off of those. So you really need to go in with a fresh mind and perspective on maybe the clients have changed or maybe the previous allegations have been false. And so I think that just giving everyone a clean slate, no matter whether it's our clients or our coworkers, we really need to work as a team to be able to resolve the conflicts with our clients.
Take vacation as needed to make sure you're taking care of yourself, because what good are you if you're not 100% and how you're going to benefit the families that you serve.
There are many days when I go home and, the case is still very fresh on my mind, but I think what is important for us to do at least 3 times out of the week, I try to talk to a coworker or a supervisor and, just debrief everything that I've kind of, witnessed as a worker, because I'm not going to be able to, help a family or a child feel safe if I'm not well.
As an investigative social worker in Child Protective Services, the safety and well-being of children is paramount. Family in-home services are a legally mandated component of the Child Protective Service continuum that provides help to families who have had a substantiation of abuse, neglect, dependency, and or found in need of services. The purpose of Family in-Home is to provide case planning and case management services to parents and caretakers. These services equip the family with resources to allow the child to remain in the home while the family addresses the issues of concern.
What I could say that I really appreciate and enjoy about working with FI is that it's the middle of the road between investigations and permanency planning, and so we really have an opportunity to work with families and have a significant impact on their family and the outcomes for their family before their children ever enter custody, or to prevent their children from ever even coming into custody in the first place. It's a dynamic area. It's not quite as fast-paced as investigations, so it gives the opportunity to be a little flexible, an opportunity to plan your time, to have some consistent and regular contact with families.
Some of the emotional challenges that a family interventions worker may endure will be working with children who have been sexually abused, and working with children in the hospital when they're either sick or they have marks and bruises, and not knowing who the perpetrator might be. You don't want to make a rush to judgment, because we might think that one parent is responsible who's actually not, and we could remove a child from a home, prematurely, and that can disrupt the family, which is also traumatic. Every move that a child makes, from what the studies show, that is a 6-month delay in development for that child. So our job is very serious. It is a job that requires us to be very mindful of all of our actions and decisions, and to not be quick to prejudge, but you also want to make sure that you do gather information as quickly as possible.
Family in-home services are family-centered. The social worker must respect diversity and support parental efforts to care for their children.
The services are voluntary, and so the family intervention social worker has to really build a strong rapport with the family, develop a high level of trust in terms of providing services and making referrals. Because if a family is not committed, or if a precedent or a significant impact wasn't made from the investigative side, it creates a challenge for the family intervention worker in terms of addressing whatever those safety implications are. That would probably be the biggest challenge, that it's a voluntary service. It's not court ordered or court mandated. So everything that happens in family intervention really is what the family is committed to doing, along with the encouragement and support from their social worker.
I was actually fresh out the gate, and there was a child fatality. And I had to go to the home, and this is where the child drowned in a pool. And so we're trying to assess neglect, if the child was improperly supervised, but we also wanted to be a support to the family who's going through a traumatic event, and that included the siblings who were there. So that was a balancing act too, because you have to go in to investigate, but we also need to be respectful and mindful of the family's needs at that time.
The family intervention social worker must see the family within 7 days of the case being substantiated and or found in need of services. They are also required to make face-to-face contact with each child and caregiver at least twice per month, and contact with case collateral twice per month.
We're expected to abide by policy at all times, and you're accountable as a worker to know what those policies are. And how they impact families, because a lot of times families have questions, and you have to be able to give them an honest answer as it relates to policy.
One of the expectations for that area is that you have a reasonably strong ability to be able to assess risk and safety on an ongoing basis, because a case decision has already been made, and it's already been determined that there is a safety concern for a child or children living within this family, and the concerns have already been identified specifically for you. And so as a family intervention social worker, any contact and any time you interface with the parent, the child, maybe a collateral or a community resource, the things that you should be assessing for are, is that still a concern for this parent? Are they addressing the concern? Are they participating in this class that they've been referred to? Have we had any additional concerns? Are the police still coming out to the home? Those are things that the family intervention social worker would clearly need to be aware of. The expectation is also that you manage your time and manage it well, because you could have a caseload of 7 to 10 families, and sometimes you can have less, but you have to do bi-weekly or weekly visits with those clients, and so the expectation is that you manage those visits and that you maintain a contact percentage that's well above 90% every single month.
It is necessary for the family in-home social worker to be self-directed, organized, and able to manage multiple ongoing cases.
There are times when you get a phone call at 3 in the afternoon on a Friday night that changes your day, and you end up having to file a petition on a child, and you're going to be out in the field for a majority of the night. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen, and you have to have a plan in place for the what if, to be able to take care of your own responsibilities at home. If you have children, you have to be able to have a plan for them and for those times when you do have to unexpectedly work late.
In my own life, I have children, and my child may have a doctor's appointment, and I can set that during the day and then still meet with my client family's needs in the evening, because that parent may not get off until the evening hours. I do give up some of my weekend time to meet with my client families, but I don't feel cheated because I'm able to take care of my own family's needs during the week.
The family in-home social worker will make reasonable efforts to maintain the child in their natural home environment. However, a petition to bring a child into DSS custody may be necessary if an imminent threat to the safety and/or well-being of the child is present. Permanency planning social workers are assigned to children brought into the custody of Mecklenburg County. This unit receives abuse, neglect, and dependency cases from investigations, family in-home, and directly from delinquency court hearings. The primary responsibility of a permanency planning social worker is to seek a safe, permanent living situation for the child in custody. They must determine if reunification with the caretaker from whom the child was removed is possible, or whether another permanency option is better suited for the child.
We give families a year after the children are brought into care to work through the issues that have caused them to come into care. And so we get to know the families really well. We get to know the parents, we get to know grandparents, we get to know step parents, we get to know aunts, uncles, any family that we can identify that can be a support to these children, because that's part of our job as well, is to identify these families, make sure that we have the children placed safely, placed with someone that's appropriate. If not, of course, they come into foster care.
Workers are required to first consider reunification with the parent through case planning and assessing the risk factors that resulted in removal of the child.
Permanency planning gives me the opportunity to work with and help the neediest families in our community, and a large part of why I do social work, it's a ministry for me, and so I love helping people. I love helping people that need help, and really with this position, we work with the neediest people in Mecklenburg County, and so by the time a child has come into care, we really know that there are concerns and things that they need, and we're able to be a support to them in any way that we can to help them work through those concerns.
This is not a 9-to-5 job. It's long hours. The beauty and the curse of it is you can walk in and have your day planned out, and you come in and you have an emergency and you're doing something totally different. It ends up in a long day. But it also results in you helping a family or impacting a family and getting them to a good place.
You to address whatever the concerns are, whether it be substance abuse, domestic violence, or whatever has caused your children to come into care. So a lot of what we do as far as disgruntled parents is just kind of dismissing all that they develop in their mind about what the department is, and redeveloping that with them and letting them know, no, we're here to help you get your children back. We don't want your children in care. We want them to be home with you.
Successful case management of custody cases requires at least a monthly visit with assigned children and their removal parent or caretaker. In addition, permanency planning social workers must also consult with at least 2 collateral contacts and the placement provider each month. This position requires a tremendous amount of time, persistence, and paperwork. Court oversight of each child in DSS custody makes the permanency planning social worker position unique. Cases are typically reviewed at 3-month intervals. Permanency planning social workers must attend court, be knowledgeable about every aspect of a case, and testify relevant case information under oath.
For example, we write a court report and we are recommending that the children return home to the parents because the parents have done everything they needed to do on their service agreement. They've done what the court has asked of them. So, for example, last week we had a situation where we recommended 3 children be returned to the mother's care because she had done everything she needed to do, and they were able to go home with their mother. She had a new house, she had food, she had a job, all the things that she did not have before. Other times it doesn't go that way. It doesn't always go the way we hoped. We may recommend that a child return home, and the jail office or a parent attorney, the other parent attorney, may not be in agreement with us, and or the judge may not be in agreement with us, and then we have to go back to the drawing board and revisit, and the team has to come back together to make another plan for what's in the best interest of this child.
We have to see our child on a monthly basis. And I like that because that's accountability. That's a way that we could assess safety and well-being and make sure that our children's needs are being met. It's good to have accountability and checks and balances in permanency planning because there are just so many things to do, and oftentimes when you have a couple crises on your caseload, it's easy to forget, oh wow, I haven't seen John Doe this month. And so because I know I'm accountable for seeing my child each month, then I have to do what I can to see John Doe for that month.
This position requires irregular hours, including nights and weekends, to accomplish tasks. Prioritization of activities is essential.
When one person on the team has an emergency, we all have an emergency. We work together because in child welfare and child protective services, you can't do this job on your own, and you won't be successful if you don't have the support of your team and your supervisor and your management. You won't.
Children in the department's custody are typically traumatized by their past life experiences and removal from a place they call home. The goal for all children in custody is to achieve permanence within 1 year. Permanency options may include reunification with the biological parent, guardianship with a relative or alternative caretaker, or adoption. Although a percentage of children age out of foster care, achieving permanence is a worker's #1 goal.
I hope that you found this video to be helpful in learning more about investigations and sex abuse investigations, family in-home services, and permanency planning. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and may success always be yours.